Hey, you like cool stuff? You like comic books, movies, t-shirts? You should check out ShirtCrate. For just $4.99 a month, they'll send you a box full of the coolest t-shirts ever overproduced. We're talking the official promotional t-shirt of Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For. This is a beautiful shirt, and you can get dozens or possibly hundreds of them every month in all sizes, except medium. It's got all the great characters from Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For right on it. You got your Marv, you got Jessica Alba. It's even got August 22nd, 2014, written in a font that looks like blood. You can wear them, you can store them, it's up to you. Just go to HollywoodStorageUnits.com/ShirtCrate and use the promo code GUARANTEED to sign up, and they'll throw in for absolutely free a rare misprint of the official Sin City 2 A Dame to Kill For t-shirt where the ink melted and ruined the shirt. This is a collector's item, folks. ShirtCrate. It's just this one t-shirt, and they'll never run out.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 8 of Guaranteed Audio, the real episode 8.
Yeah. What was it? Last episode we said episode 8, but it was actually episode 7.
It most definitely, I rolled the dice on that and I lost.
8's a cooler number.
It's cringeworthy. If you watch it, because that was a video podcast. This one is not, because we don't want to get you addicted to video. But if you watch it, we very confidently decide to go with number 8. And we just look like fools.
So if this is your first time listening to Guaranteed Audio, this is the Guaranteed Video podcast. You can find our RSS feed, our iTunes feed, the Google Play version of the podcast over at guaranteedaudio.com, which is a great URL to have.
Mm-hmm.
We're still surprised we got guaranteedaudio.com.
And guaranteedvideo.com.
That's right.
We changed our Facebook vanity URL over from New Kids on the Rock to Guaranteed Video. And there's now a New Kids on the Rock fashion line that's parked on our old Facebook page. If you Google it, if you go to the URL, which is facebook.com/NKOTR, it'll bring you to Guaranteed. Mm-hmm. But if you search New Kids on the Rock, it's now like some fashion line.
I just thought of as an Eagle Scout and a former Boy Scout.
Okay, we get it.
One of our little mantras is you leave a campsite better than you found it, which is supposed to be don't leave trash and nonsense and styrofoam. Yeah. But I just thought of isn't it nice that we left that site for New Kids better than we found it. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So, I don't know what's happened recently since our last episode. Last month, we screened Year of the Snake at Buff, the Boston Underground Film Festival, which was the 20th anniversary?
I think so.
It was their 20th year, yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't caught it, we did the promotional campaign for Buff this year. We got hired to do a video advertising that the Boston Underground Film Festival was coming back. We brought back Daxter Flaxter from Computer Fighters. We made a pretty awesome commercial. I was really happy with the way it came out. We showed Year of the Snake in the comedy block, which is kind of insulted me. I thought it was a horror film. But
really?
No.
Okay. We only made it because you were laughing at it.
Buff is all for those of you who don't live in the greater Boston area or just don't have the means to get here it's a fun festival. It was great for us to be there. And I was gonna say it's interesting. They're not specifically a horror film festival, but they've always had a strong horror theme between their independent shorts and the comedy section. It's always been more darker, creepy, scary. They just like
edgy
scary
stuff.
Yes,
edgy stuff.
They love edgy stuff.
Their mascot is like a weird skull rabbit thing. So.
I don't know if we went over this on another podcast, but when we did our ad campaign and sent over our treatment, the script, we were asked to make it a bit scarier or a bit more intense. So we made sure that someone's eyeballs got ripped out in that video. We were part of a 2-hour block of comedy movies. There's, like Ryan said, there's a lot of scary stuff, a lot of violent stuff.
I recommend, I did it last year. I missed it this year, but last year I went to the music video segment, which do a lot of festivals do music videos?
I've been to a few.
Yeah.
The music video segment, that and the animations.
It delivers.
It really is. So let's get to our usual segment, Media Current. Ryan, what have you been digesting media-wise lately? Any good books, TV shows, movies, music?
Well, as you know, books aren't allowed where I live. No, I saw A Quiet Place about a week and a half ago, and I wasn't wowed by it. We were talking about this for those of you who weren't here before we started recording, which is all of you who are listening at home. I recently read an article that coined a term, or at least it's the first time I've seen it coined, smart horror. like a smartphone or smart TV, smart horror, specifically within the vein of Get Out. And I loved Get Out. I've watched it at least 10 times. There are interesting things I've noticed, new things I've noticed every time I've watched it. I will always watch it start to finish. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought of, because actually Kevin and I saw it for the first time, when I saw it for the first time was in the theater with Kevin together.
Get Out. Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, that was brilliant. This is kind of like Cabin in the Woods. There's really good potential for horror movies. Cabin in the Woods is all about horror movies aren't dead. Just because there's all these cliches and all these tropes and it's been done and done, it doesn't change the fact that people can still make good ones. And as we were discussing before about online streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, the biggest section is documentaries. But another big section is horror. And you look through bad title after bad title.
Well, I think people are in love with these kind of like darling horror movies now, specifically because it's so saturated with just why bother watching it content.
Sorry, Neil, you're saying that you think people are excited about these good horror films because there's so many bad ones? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in addition to them being good movies. But just because horror has such a rep, it's kind of a novelty when it rises above it.
In the last
nowadays.
5-6 years, we've had a lot of good ones.
And by the way, I would classify Cabin in the Woods as a smart ass horror film.
I think a big thing when you look at Netflix in particular, I think Amazon's a bit better. But Netflix in particular not only has just this dumpster fire section of horror movies, they're really, a lot of them are bad, not like even entertaining bad. Like the things like Terror Vision or whatever are fun and they're bad, but they're available on Amazon, Netflix. It really is just like the 4th or 5th sequel in a horror franchise and like another shark movie and
well put.
Yeah, and I think what happened is Netflix realized that, well, people will watch bad horror movies. Like they just kind of want something fun to look at. I mean, when I was a kid and went to the video store, I wanted horror films, no matter how good or bad they were. And the thing is, there for the longest time were so few great horror movies, like actually great films, not just entertaining, like great, like things like Rosemary's Baby and Jaws or like The Exorcist or what have you. That why would movie distributors give away The Exorcist for free, with an asterisk on Netflix when they could sell you the Blu-ray still? Because they're big fish. They're small fish in a huge pond of crap, right? Whereas now, I think there's been a stronger concerted effort the last 5 years to make decent films that happen to be horror movies.
That being said, your opinion of
A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place.
Well, it got hyped up a lot as being bold and ambitious and new. And I actually thought a lot about a movie that I respected for being ambitious, but was like a B minus at best. It Follows.
Yeah.
It's got some clever moments and some jump scares and a lot of flaws and weaknesses, but that doesn't change the fact that I respect their ambition. I respect the fact that they tried to do something kind of new, and hit or miss, they went for it.
So you're talking about It Follows?
It Follows, yes.
Yeah.
A Quiet Place isn't it's not a gimmick. I don't consider it a gimmick movie, but it is weak. It is a B minus at best. There is a lot. I agree with Kevin. I agree with your assessment of the laughably bad setup of the newspapers blowing in the wind of, in all caps, bold. It's sound.
Yeah. So the setup of It Follows. The setup for A Quiet Place, Neil, and I won't spoil anything you wouldn't get from the trailer, is literally some newspapers on a wall that say aliens invade. Like, how long do we have? It's like something like a 10th grader would do.
Cool. Yeah, a newspaper that
it's not cool.
It's played serious. It's played very like, no, this is smart. This is a disciplined moment. This is tragic. Like, all these people are dead now. Like, it's played very dry. And
it honestly, forgive me if you guys either haven't seen or don't remember when Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey fought dragons.
I kind of like that movie.
And in a Reign of Fire, in which they show newspaper, like a Time magazine, saying dragons.
Yeah, it's really, it's
or with an exclamation point.
Why not?
It's we've seen this so many times. Like that setup, like, I don't know, aliens. That really feels like what the writer's room decided for that. Like, I don't know, aliens. Sure, aliens are killing you if you make any sound. Like it's so magical. It's literally if you make any noise that's louder than like a footstep, as you've seen in the trailers, one of these aliens just appears and gets you. It takes no discipline to write that. It's kind of what my issue with it is. All the writing in the movie, for me personally, I agree with Ryan. I wasn't impressed by it. I thought it was kind of.
I asked you earlier. I don't know much about the movie because I haven't even seen the trailer.
There's not much to know.
Yeah, but based on what you saying that it was a very simple premise that's kind of been done before. If it actually came out like in the 80s or something, would it be considered a better movie?
To that, I say, would it be a better movie? No. But would it be considered a better movie? Yes. Yes, I agree.
I think it's really like it's hard because I understand a lot of people will look at something this reductive, and I know reductive is pejorative, but like this simple, a setup, like if you make noise, an alien will get you. Right? I'm not hyperbolizing. That's literally the movie for 90 minutes. There's like a lot of repetition. There's a lot of story points that are given like 5-minute scenes to explain, and it doesn't think much of its audience. It thinks its audience is dumb. My read on it. This is my words, not gospel. But my point is, I think a lot of people would look at, oh, this is simple. That's the mark of good writing. It's like, well, there's simple, and then there's nothing. Like then there's not a lot to work with. I mean, most people I've talked to really like the movie. I personally think there's the setup for the finale. I thought it's done like 4 times. Like they explain what the finale is going to be 4 times. There's really thick dialogue. I guess I should stop talking because I don't want to spoil anything because you might like it. But I saw Annihilation recently,
which I also saw.
Yeah. So,
but Ryan's the odd man,
and I didn't yet. But feel free, don't let me stop you.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a Venn diagram of things we want to see. I liked Annihilation a lot. I saw it when I was in New York City last month. I went out to go see the Midnight band I really like. I've mentioned them on the show before. And Annihilation, I saw it in a whim with my girlfriend Hillary, and I was more into it than she was. Where did you see it, Neil? Did you go out and see it?
I saw it at the Somerville.
Yeah. What'd you make of it? I mean,
it's an interesting movie. I think it gets more interesting as it goes along.
For sure,
just because it handles its mystery really well.
Yeah.
I went into it. This isn't really a spoiler. It's more like I just didn't watch the trailer. I didn't know anything about it.
Great way to watch movies. That's all I did. Too.
Yeah, I thought it was just a sci-fi, but it's a horror film. Sci-fi horror film. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, we're really going this direction. But that's just the middle of the movie. The ending kind of becomes its own thing, and I don't want to spoil it at all.
Yeah, I think the ending's the reason that movie got made.
Yeah.
I think the director was like, I have this vision for something genuinely terrifying and beautiful, and I'm going to make a 90-minute movie out of it.
Yeah, the ending there's no comparison.
There's at least 2 monsters in the movie. There's more than 2, but there's at least 2, and the first one looks terrible. The second one is amazing. The setup for the scene is really wonky, but it's something that it's like up there with stuff from the first Alien in terms of just like quiet, scary shit.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk in more detail about it. Like if people who've seen the movie who are listening probably are like, just spoil it, just talk about it. But there's like a really ghoulish thing I think you'll love, Ryan, in the middle of it. Yeah. You've probably heard about it. If you've heard anything about Annihilation.
It's a bear, right?
It's a bear.
Okay.
And it's like really
cool.
cool.
This ain't Paddington. All right, let's move on.
This ain't Yogi. Yeah. But no, Annihilation. I liked Annihilation. It's probably my favorite movie this year so far. Neil, I guess you, because even though we just talked about that. What about you? Got anything?
The last thing I really dug into was a game called Minit. It's spelled Minit.
Yeah.
And it was just something I saw like a tweet about or something. I don't know how big of a game it is. And it's a short game. It's a shorter game. It's about $10, which some people might balk at.
Who? $10 for a video game. I mean, I assume how long does it take to beat it?
It's one of those games where it depends on what you put into it. There's a lot of there's extra stuff you can solve in the game. Sure. So you could be done with it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
If you're not a perfectionist or if you're not a completionist.
I think that's totally fine by me.
Yeah. I played it. The setup is it's a kind of a top-down Zelda style thing. It's not really an RPG because there's no stats you have to worry about. It's more like you go find this object and it helps you solve this problem in another part of the map.
Like an adventure game, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of an adventure game, but it's top down like Zelda.
Okay, so like
and-
Zelda presentation of like a Resident Evil kind of.
Yeah, and it's more like if you get this object, then you come back to this place and you're allowed to pass. It's not like really
Get this key or get this.
Yeah,
deck
it's
of cards.
kind of telegraphed what you need to do.
Yeah.
But the gimmick is you start off in a house and you wake up and you have 60 seconds to do whatever you want to do. And after 60 seconds, you die and you go back to that house. So
Oh,
it's
I've heard
kind of
of- okay, yeah.
So it's like checkpoints. There's other houses you can kind of check into. So it's not like you have to traverse the entire map. You kind of like can set up camp in a certain place. But like a big part of the mechanic of the game is basically like figuring out what you need to do, going back to the starting point, and then getting it done within 60 seconds.
I think Devolver published this.
They did, yeah.
I'm looking at the Kevin's pulled up some visuals here, and like that. I like it. I like that.
Yeah,
so
that's the other neat thing is it's only got two colors. It's it's a pixel art
Could be a Game Boy
tile-based
game.
Yeah, it's got black and it's got white, and the art basically has to convey information using only those two colors. Even like the gradients when you're in the dark and you have like a lantern and some things are half in darkness. It's all done with like this cool dithering effect.
Yeah.
It's like a cool puzzle game.
What brought it to your attention?
I just saw someone on Twitter. I think Jay Tholen, who works with Devolver, he made the game Dropsy, and he's working.
Yeah.
And he's working on a new game.
Devolver publishes some really good stuff. Like
Yeah, they did their most
Hotline
famous.
Miami.
Yeah.
Speaking of video games, right before we sat down to record this, we picked up my copy of God of War for PS4, and we played the first half an hour, and we're pretty impressed. I was very impressed with what I saw. I'm a fan of the series.
Yeah, we got to walk down the street to our local Ma and Pa video games to our video game store,
Game Zone.
And this thing looks great. I mean, we stopped playing because
We had to do this.
we have work to do, and we could have sunk a lot of time into that. But it looks like it's going to deliver.
Yeah, it was like a 5-year development cycle. It's like the polar opposite game of Minit. Like
Yeah.
5 years, countless. But apparently, it's like this year's game to beat so far. In terms
Well, that's
of
kind of why I brought up like the $10 thing. Is that too much for a tiny game made by like 3 people?
Well, I bet they priced it at that, knowing like, well, we'll just put it on sale for 50% off, because there's some people who will only buy things when they're on sale. They'll never pay 100% MSRP. I said that right, yeah. And they probably know like, okay, we'll just put on 50% off. Oh, I'll buy it now. $5 is probably more what they expect to get out of it, right? That's like.
I mean, I happily pay. Yeah, I'm happy with what I paid for.
Me too. I think $10 for 2 hours of rock solid entertainment is what I pay for a movie. And I like more. I like games frequently more than I like movies these days. And
To be clear, I spent more like 5 or 6 hours playing
sure,
it probably because I just wanted to like.
I prefer games of that length, in all honesty. It took me 60 hours to beat Horizon, and that game was great, but man, it took months. I can't sit down and just park my butt with a game like that. I want to have an intimate. I like session games. I like Rogue Legacy and stuff like that. And when we're done recording this, I'm going to get you guys to play Drunken Bar Fight VR.
Yeah, I
with
want to
me,
try that out.
which was another $10 game.
Is that a VR game?
Yeah, well, the great thing about Drunken Bar Fight is one of us, let's say me, will put the VR headset on and be in a bar, and I'm going to put custom music on and put on some Huey Lewis, and you guys take the PlayStation controllers and you control the drunken people in the bar trying to fight me. And when you guys look at the TV in my living room, you'll see the bar from like a isometric perspective, and from my point of view in the VR headset, I'm like in the bar, like throwing stuff at you guys. I can't wait to play it. I know it's going to be trash, but it looks really, the whole thing's supposed to be trash, I think. So, but okay, that's Media Current. That's what we've been sucking up lately. So let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with our topic of the show, Channel Awesome.
Yep.
What's going down with Channel Awesome as of late. So we'll be right back.
It'll be real great.
Guaranteed Audio returns, and episode 8's, I guess, main topic of discussion is going to be Channel Awesome. Neil, define for me, what is Channel Awesome?
Channel Awesome was.
It's still around.
It's still, the website still is there. But if you've been on the internet and a nerd for the past 10 years, I guess,
Give
you
or
probably
take.
know,
Yeah, 10.
you may not watch, but you probably know the face of the nostalgia critic, Doug Walker, and his stable of others like-minded
Fellow video
video creators. And it's in the news recently, and the reason we're bringing it up, and I think we've complained about about this guy in the past.
I've cited Doug Walker before.
I've done it more on Twitter a few times. I think we mentioned them. I think we mentioned Channel Awesome as recently as our previous episode of the show.
Probably.
This podcast, we were talking just about. So to more thoroughly define what Doug Walker does and what Channel Awesome is, I want to say a decade ago, maybe a bit earlier than that, when YouTube first kicked off, Doug Walker did movie reviews, like half an hour or so of like 30-minute long movie reviews where he would talk.
Well, it would have been under 10 minutes at the time because early YouTube.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But he would talk right to the camera, show direct footage of the movie for most of the review, and then just point out flaws in the movie and how much he didn't like the movie, and
get very cartoonishly worked up about it.
Daffy Duck style.
Yeah, he's a cartoon.
Yeah, and like this was like
basically
early video criticism of movies on the internet. And
do you remember that joke on The Simpsons where it's like, hey, you know those really annoying commercials on the radio where people talk to each other? I invented those. Doug Walker kind of did that to the internet.
Yeah, he wasn't the first vlogger, but he was the first, like, I'm going to do, like, reaction movie critic stuff, and he
just super annoying animated for children.
And you can look up the timeline for this stuff. Basically, Channel Awesome, was the stable of all the people he brought on to make videos just like his. Like he coached people make videos just like mine.
And although he wasn't the head of the website, he's always been the face.
He's the brand.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's one of the three top pillars.
Him, his brother, and a guy who I had to look up because I don't care who he is.
You can find timelines of what went down with his website, but yeah, basically they left YouTube at one point due to copyright restrictions because they were posting like sometimes 20, 30 minutes of a movie that they didn't make and didn't own, and they went
kind of a holdover from the Wild West of the YouTube before there was copyright.
Before Google realized like we need to fix this.
Yeah,
we're never going to.
They argued fair use poorly, and they were wrong.
Yeah, they went to Blip, started hosting all their videos on this website called Blip that you might not have heard of. Blip was a video hosting site, like a contemporary of YouTube for a bit. Blip folded. Now they're back on YouTube, and they film more live action skits now in lieu of just showing footage from the movies that they ripped off a DVD or whatever. So I guess the next question is, what happened to Channel Awesome? Why is Channel Awesome in the news?
Not in the news per se, but like...
Why is it on message boards?
Yes.
Well put.
It may have trended on Twitter at one point, maybe. There's probably articles being written right now. I'm sure they'll be out by the time this goes up. But basically, it was kind of a snowball effect where a bunch of former collaborators and producers just kind of like aired their grievances with the production and the management at Channel Awesome, Doug Walker, his brother, and the other guy who owns it, who's Michael Michaud, something like that.
That sounds...
And they kind of put together this big document that just detailed all these allegations of just crummy things that happened as creators to them, and mismanagement, and it's worth checking out, or at least like getting a recap.
So the kind of stories we would hear are things like, so Channel Awesome would make like mini movie, like things kind of akin to what we were making at the time, like these like backyard
kind of vanity projects.
Yeah, kind of vanity projects
for the fans.
The fans. But stories have been coming out of like, they didn't have like water on set, or like not even just they're not paying us. Things like we're filming 18-hour days and like no one's having a good time. And to me, that's not the biggest surprise because, we were making movies when we were teenagers and we remember working our hands to the bone.
Yeah.
like going like 10 hours without stopping for food, and then we just collapse and get like Wendy's or something. Like,
and you'd call in a favor from a friend who doesn't have a job, stuff like that.
But one guy drives everyone.
Yeah. And the thing is, that was my initial reaction. But it slowly occurred to me like, oh, wait a minute. These guys were older than us. They had a lot of money that was coming in. And some of these stories go far beyond like...
Well, that's the thing.
That's the thing. Like some of these...
We don't want to like get too much into it, but there's also...
This.
Like it gets worse. It gets worse. There's stuff that's just, like they knew about, sexual harassment and stuff like that. Basically, the message is they did everything wrong.
Yeah,
right? Everything wrong.
And the thing is,
everything you can do wrong, they did wrong.
And like now, as far as our relationship with Channel Awesome, I know this isn't much of a story. Neil, you ran into Doug Walker once at a convention. You didn't really talk to him or anything.
No, I don't. No, I remember seeing it. This was must have been when he was kind of starting to get big.
Sure.
I don't have a good story about him. Yeah. He was there. I didn't really get to talk to him. I wish I could say in retrospect, like, yeah, that guy, I knew all along.
Yeah, but
I was kind of put off by him, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know why.
But just so for like disclosure, like, yeah, that's like your only real tie to them. I've worked with James Rolfe a little bit on my documentary, and Pat Contry, and they, you know, the Angry Video Game Nerd, and Pat, the NES punk, and they know Doug, and I've worked with Doug. And
they're adjacent, yeah.
Yeah, so like that's kind of it though. Like Ryan, I assume you didn't like speak at Doug Walker's wedding or something, right? Like, so I guess what I want to get into is, did any of us ever really listen to their stuff? I bring up Ryan because I think you and I did for a while.
Well, yes. I never actively went out of my way to channelawesome.com, but there was a time around like 2012, 2013 when I watched a bunch of Doug Walker's reviews.
Yeah.
They're an easy thing to put on in the background if you're doing work or sitting on your computer. I just watched them on YouTube though, which meant I probably watched someone who just stole his stuff.
Yeah. Were you actually watching or just listening?
Usually just listening.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
In my argument of even a broken clock is right twice a day. There are reviews in which Doug Walker brought up some good points. I'm like, oh, I'll give credit where credit's due. I'll also give credit where credit's due. Like when this dirtbag keeps saying that Robin Williams is the worst part of his childhood, and the second the man dies, he holds this memoriam nonsense. He defined my child. Yeah. I've never seen a human being criticize Robin Williams more, and then like a dog with his tail between his legs comes back and starts going on about what a hero he was.
That was basically when I stopped. Around the same time as you, Ryan, I was working. Maybe a little earlier, I was working at an office job that I didn't like, and I would frequently be the only one in the office in my cubicle, and I would just put on Nostalgia Critic videos and just listen to them in the background. I just think of an old movie like, oh, they have the Care Bears movie. He did that. Okay, let's listen to 20 minutes of Doug Walker.
I don't remember Rockadoodle. Help me out.
Yeah.
He was good at that. He was good at that.
There's a reason for that.
That was his place before like geek culture podcasting really blew up. We've definitely talked about Channel Awesome either on this podcast or amongst ourselves. I usually am complaining like I don't understand what people see in this stuff because I've
still had defenders.
It really did up until
their
recently.
Production value has always been very bad,
and that's the thing that always like drove me nuts. Like now a personal weakness of mine, and this is a problem of mine. Is I went to school to make video. I take a lot of pride in the stuff I make. I always try to make it look as professional as possible and as good as possible. And obviously, not all of our stuff looks great. We always have to cut some corners. We're just three bozos, typically.
Sometimes a fourth, but
rarely. I always have had this chip on my shoulder with stuff that Channel Awesome did, and that I think it never got beyond like those early days of backyard cardboard box movie making on YouTube. Like I don't think it ever got better than that. Like cameras still weren't white balanced properly, and the Nostalgia Critic video stuff I saw like 2 years ago, like I didn't understand where the money was going. And when this stuff all blew up recently, the change the channel hashtag, I think it was.
Yeah.
I remember people going, oh, the whole fervor is they're unprofessional and they treat people poorly. And I was like, yeah, no kidding. I've got some magic beans I could sell you too. But it definitely goes deeper than that, apparently. And the more I've read up on it, the more awful some of this sounds. And seems like a bit of a sinking ship. A bit.
Well, that's the other half of the story is they had I feel like they had dozens of creators who left the banner.
Because what did the banner even offer them? Like that's the story, right?
Yeah,
like, being on Channel Awesome. What did it even give you? Like
that's the weird obsolete thing about it was like why was there a website you go to where
video content is hosted?
Yeah, it's a very it's like it just feels like something that doesn't make sense anymore, and I think that's kind of
why this happened. Why the change the channel thing happened.
Well, it's a contributing thing. I think a lot of the creators who've left just kind of like said like, yeah, there's no reason for me to be on this website. I don't even have there's nothing holding me back, basically.
And let's address some other, I think, very relevant points. Number one, Channel Awesome didn't host videos; they just embedded them.
Yeah.
So
they had Blip or YouTube host them. Yeah.
Or maybe Vimeo. I'm pretty sure it says YouTube. But number two, but what I consider to be an enormous mistake. And it's not just because of the means. I don't want to get all Marshall McLuhan here, but they asked their contributors, their artists, they didn't want them to use Patreon or talk about Patreon or like pitch their own Patreons, which to me is ridiculous.
I think their management thought it was like decentralizing their income or whatever, and they wanted. It is ridiculous. I completely agree.
Huge mistake on their part.
Apparently, like a lot of the language that's out there, there's like this like 60, 70 page Google Doc that compiles all the, I don't want to call it gossip, anecdotes, grievances.
Yeah.
A lot of people are basically saying that management at Channel Awesome was very technophobic and they were very like anti-progressive when it came to new distribution methods, like
using Twitter.
Don't use Twitter. Don't use Patreon. Don't use, anything that would allow you to connect your audience through any funnel that isn't channelawesome.com. I think it was Channel Awesome.
If they didn't understand, I think they honestly didn't understand it, and they couldn't. Yeah, like exactly, they were afraid of anything they didn't directly control. And as the days,
I get like there's always that like, do I really need to use Snapchat? No, I don't. Like you do have to like make that call sometime.
Yeah, I don't have a Tumblr. I mean, I guess I have a Tumblr account, but I've used it like twice.
Right. Yeah. Like,
Tumblr recently reminded me that
by the way, Tumblr's not new anymore.
Vicious 516's your account turned 6 years old. Like, I bet you sent me one of these when it turned 5. But I don't know.
The three of us have had conversations about our disapproval of Channel Awesome before, but now we're podcasting about it.
Well, the other thing is, I think a lot of people have realized like this isn't worth watching anymore. Like they haven't evolved, and
you're talking about the actual videos.
The actual content, like the actual style of review. And now, like, I mean, again, like there's a ton of good creators on the website.
Sure.
But like specifically Nostalgia Critic's brand, it just feels quaint. Or not even quaint. Quaint's too nice a word. It feels antiquated in a world where you have like Red Letter Media and
Half in the Bag and all that
they're
stuff.
Half in the Bag project. Yep. And I'm
or like film criticism podcasts or like anything
or Every Frame of Painting.
Yeah. Or even Lindsay. Was it Lindsay Ellis?
Lindsay Ellis, yep.
Who left Nostalgia Critic. I mean, it
just does the same thing but much better.
Much better. Her Bright review, which was long. I listened to the whole thing on a car ride a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. And I never once cared for the stuff she did when at Channel Awesome, and apparently she didn't have a lot of input on the stuff she made at Channel Awesome.
Yeah, I think people just kind of collectively realized like we can do so much better now. We don't need this. There's no
this
real
centralized.
This isn't a hill you need to die
help.
on. You know?
Yeah, it's like a weird. It's almost. I'm going to throw a word out here and give me a minute. I think it's almost like a cult mentality at Channel Awesome, where people think, "Oh, I need the brand. I need to be associated with this Channel Awesome moniker, with that guy with the glasses. Like I need that, or I'm nothing."
Maybe at one point,
that's what I think fell. I think that's what collapsed. Was people went, "Wait a goddamn minute! I can put up
people
videos."
Like me."
Yeah, like There's people on that website who are now more noteworthy than anyone ever was on that website, and they just went to YouTube and Twitter and Patreon. Like this centralized idea of like a website offering you like this is where the real movie critics are,
which is still a thing on YouTube. Sometimes there are channels that kind of
cultivation.
They cultivate, and I get emails all the time from these weird
sect.
These like kind of like phony companies where they're like, hey, we like, and then like a copy and paste one of my video names or something, and we think you would be good, in our family, and like
we'd love to offer you a bad deal. Like
exactly.
But there is a place for cultivation in like what's the word when like you like go through the opposite of an algorithm when like someone actually like handpicks and curation.
Thank you.
Curation, but what kind of curation was being done at Channel Awesome?
Well, no, it was a banner. It was a banner, which does still exist in some forms on YouTube. I don't like but YouTube does not encourage it very much. Remember how you used to be able to like link to another channel on your
we abuse that all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I made something new, I'd go, "Hey Neil, would you mind letting your subscribers know I made
But
this?"
specifically, like you could have a linked channel, like here's a sister channel or something, and you can still do that.
They're trying to dilute that now. Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube isn't big on that. They don't have like the equivalent of having your channel be part of a group.
Yeah.
And having them all be linked, because that's just not how people watch videos. They just click on something from the sidebar.
So what do you guys think is in the future for Channel Awesome? Like if their forums are down, people are jumping ship, they're losing subscribers and content creators. Like, do they rebrand? Like Doug Walker can't take the character, the Nostalgia Critic, with him. He doesn't own it.
Yeah, they'll probably stay together and continue making stuff. But I think what this has done is kind of forced them to do what they should have done anyway, which is close that website and just make stuff for YouTube and follow the rules.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's what they will do, but that seems like it's their only option now.
You mean copyright law, basically, or
yeah.
Like make an effort.
And I wanted to talk because I routinely flout copyright law, but I also don't defend it.
Yeah, you don't make impassioned speeches towards the camera where you make up laws that don't exist.
No, at most I'll say like, come on, have some fun. You know?
Yeah. I don't care about YouTube. It makes me think of stinky socks. Your Pokemon video.
Oh yeah.
I remember that was like a week of you being really frustrated to try to get that Pokemon video up.
I just wanted to put it up somewhere so people could laugh and watch it, but I also
Was
don't
Blip
think
gone
that
by
I
then?
should be allowed to. I think if someone wants to give me a venue and they don't care and they recognize that it's unlikely that a lawsuit's going to happen, like that's great. I do miss that Wild West part of YouTube where
Sure.
you could use music, you could use songs because it was just a video hosting. It was
we were
photo
always so
bucket.
scared using like the Ren and Stimpy music on the old New Kid stuff. Like we were always like, oh, is this going to get flagged? What is that going to mean? And
You have 3 strikes and then you're out. You know?
yeah, we were always tempered. Like we always had we were always ready to be slapped on the wrist because we knew we were wrong. But to go out and pretend that it was righteous to just post other people's work unedited, like I don't know.
Like Doug Walker is very fond of the term fair use. And I am too, because some of the things that I do are fair use. Some of the things that we do are fair use.
As a documentarian, I am absolutely a fan of fair use. I need it.
Yeah.
but I don't know. There's a certain amount of Google just trying to avoid getting sued in that situation. You know, that's why Google takes videos down, because it's not a public entity; it's a private entity. And okay, so enough on that.
Yeah, that guy sucks. All right, moving on.
All right, Ryan, we're going to take a quick break, but let's have a tease. What is your quiz going to be on? Ryan's hosting a quiz.
The 1996 Academy Awards.
Great. Not even the 10-year anniversary.
Nope.
All right.
All right,
90
All right,
a
we'll
very
bet
you're all going to learn how unmemorable it was.
I can't wait.
It'll be real great.
And that was It'll Be Real Great by the Guaranteed Audio Band. Next up, we got Ryan Murphy as our quizmaster.
That's right. I haven't done a quiz in a while. I think my last one was a Sonic quiz. And I was just feeling really passionate about the 1996 Academy Awards,
We all were, I think.
the Oscars.
the Oscars.
Were we 9 years old at that time?
96?
96, I would have been turned 10.
Yeah.
Between
Turned
9
10,
to
but
10.
we were born in 86, and it happens earlier in the years.
Correct. So I would have been 9. That is correct. I have a multiple choice quiz of questions regarding the 1996 Academy Awards. There are 5 answers to each question. One of them is right. I'm going to ask Neil some questions. Neil, then Kevin. Neil, Kevin will go back and forth, and we're going to start with Neil.
All right.
And let's open with this film, best remembered for winning the 1996 Academy Award for Best Picture of the Year, won the 1996 Academy Award for Best Picture. Was it The Prince of Tides, starring Barbra Streisand and Nick Nolte? Gorillas in the Mist, starring Sigourney Weaver as Dr. Diane Fossey? Leaving Las Vegas, starring Sir Nicolas Cage? The Accidental Tourist, starring William Hurt? Or Braveheart, starring the meaningless, racist piece of shit pseudo-artist Mel Gibson?
What was the second option?
Gorillas in the
No.
Mist.
Okay. What was the third?
Leaving Las Vegas.
Probably not that.
All right. I'll just say Braveheart.
You're right.
Yay!
Ding, 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 ding. You are correct. Many of the other films were not nominated for anything at the 1996 Academy Awards. Some did come out that year, and some didn't.
Well, that's 1 point for me.
Kevin,
Yes.
this actor was not nominated for an Academy Award during the 1996 Academy Awards.
Jesus. Okay.
Was it Jack Palance in City Slickers, Richard Dreyfuss in Mr. Holland's Opus, Anthony Hopkins as Nixon in Oliver Stone's Richard Nixon, Sean Penn in Dead Man Walking as Matthew Poncelet, an actor whom I've honestly never heard of named Massimo Troisi, who apparently played a character called Mario Ruopopolo in Il Postino,
Okay. So who didn't get nominated
who
this
did
year?
not.
I'm gonna go with Anthony Hopkins didn't get nominated that year.
Oh, I'm afraid it was Jack
It
Palance
was
in
Jack
City
Palance.
Slickers.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
Neil,
Yeah.
think he can't get a posthumous award for City Slickers if he never made City Slickers 2, The Search for Curly's Gold.
Yeah.
So,
Neil.
all right. So just still 1-0, right?
Correct.
Okay.
This item was given in the gift basket for members of the audience of the 1996 Academy
This
Awards.
is an Oscar statue.
One of these was it a disc with 100 free hours of AOL Online, a prepaid cellular telephone, a book regarding the tragedy of TWA Flight 800, a compact disc including music by the recording artist Will Smith, or a Sega Genesis with a copy of Cool Spot, the 7-Up video game.
Oh my god, there's like 2 or 3 that are really plausible.
Wait, is this a
Which of these was included?
Okay.
If 4 out of 5 of these, that'd be a goddamn hell of a gift basket.
I'm just gonna go with the Will Smith CD.
I'm going to give you the point because there were no gift baskets that year. They're all made up.
Well,
None of the answers matter.
Okay.
But Kevin, tragically, yours will not be so easy. Kevin, this actress who won the Academy Award for Best Actress won Best Actress in the 1996 Academy Awards. Was it The Accused, starring Jodie Foster? Dead Man Walking, starring Susan Sarandon? Nell, starring Jodie Foster? Uma Thurman in Gattaca? Or Silence of the Lambs, starring Jodie Foster?
Well, that definitely was a 96. Silence of the Lambs. For the sake of making the podcast go quicker, I'm going to say Nell because Liam Neeson's in it.
It was Dead Man Walking, starring Susan Sarandon.
I should have gone with
I just
that.
really
Yeah.
found it funny to keep citing Jodie Foster. Maybe it was...
Also, Dead Man Walking. What the hell's that about?
I never saw it, actually. I haven't seen it. But it was at the 1996 Academy Awards. Neil, this may be
It's
difficult.
actually a zombie movie.
Is it? No.
I'm thinking of My Boyfriend's Back. All right.
All right. This might be phonetically difficult for me to do, but I'm going to do my best. This foreign language film, right, was released in 1995 and was therefore able to be nominated for the category of Best Foreign Language Film during the 1996 Academy Awards. Was it Death on the Job by Vince DiPierso, The Matchstick and the Maker by Dominic DeCoco, The Star Maker by Giuseppe Tornante, Woodworker on the Steeps of Ai, Woodworker on the Steeps of Ai by, according to the Office of the Presidential Chancellery, Otto Messinger, and Pele the Conqueror, starring Max von Sydow.
How about the first option, whatever that was?
The first one was Death on the Job by Vince DiPierso.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that.
Well, that actually did one, but not at the 1996 Academy Awards. And won another one. The Matchstick and the Maker is a movie that I made up for this test. Okay. And Dominic DeCoco is a fictional character. He's one of the 2 fake Italian names at the end of Inglourious Bastards. Oh. Woodworker on the Steeps of IE is also made up by me, and Otto Messinger worked for the Third Reich for Hitler. And although Pele the Conqueror was a real movie, it lost, although it was starring Max von Sydow, probably the only actor whose name we recognized.
Right?
Sydow.
Yeah.
Sydow.
From Bill and Ted, right? Isn't
Correct.
He?
Yes.
In other real movies.
No. What?
I think
Was he
that's
in Bill and Ted?
I don't know.
He's not deaf. Okay.
Good luck in editing.
Kevin.
What was the correct answer?
Oh, who fucking cares? It's The Star Maker. The Star Maker by Giuseppe Tornante.
Good for him. Well done.
Kevin.
Yes.
Which scene from the Ron Howard film Apollo 13, which was nominated for Best Picture during the 1996 Academy Awards,
This is a watchable movie.
does Ryan Murphy remember best when he was homesick one day of his elementary school career and ended up watching this movie like 3 or 4 times in a row? Hint, there is no meaningful way in which either of you could possibly deduce the correct answer to this question.
That's what I was thinking.
The part where Ron Howard does a cute thing where one of the astronauts' elderly mothers doesn't know who Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong are. The part where Gary Sinise's character, who played the astronaut Ken Mattingly, is forced to reveal to his crewmates that he's developed the measles. The part where Kathleen Quinlan's character, Marilyn Gertchlin Lovell, which is Tom Hanks' character's wife, hides her stress and anxiety about her husband going out into outer space in private, as she's worried about him going into outer space. The part where Tom Hanks' character, Jim Lovell, tells his son about the vacuum of space, and no matter how hard he tries, no matter how hard he fights against the meaninglessness of the void, he and all of his crewmen might get killed in space?
B.
Ooh, I'm sorry. It's not
No
Gary
idea.
Sinise getting measles.
That was my
Neil,
favorite
care to
part
take
of
it
the
away?
movie.
I don't get the point though, 'cause that's not how the rules work. I was gonna guess the measles one though, because just
Why?
because no, just because you were sick, and I thought maybe
Yeah, that was my.
That was a red herring.
no. I'm gonna say the last one because
the last one.
yeah.
The last one doesn't happen in the movie. He doesn't. I made that up. Tom Hanks does not sit his boy down and go, "Daddy could fucking die." Space is a nut. He doesn't turn into Dr. Bones.
can't outswim
It's when the
space.
motherfucker can't walk on the moon. He wants to go on the moon. He's an
Yeah, yeah.
astronaut to go to the moon. He
Yeah.
never does it. He's like, "That's the moon," and that's
I
it.
can see how you'd relate.
All right. And Neil, I got a little tired of the 1996 Academy Awards, so our final question is going to be, Ryan Murphy's favorite episode of Mad Men has little to nothing to do with the 1996 Academy Awards, but I thought it would be fun to mix things up a little. Is it Christmas Comes But Once a Year, during which Sterling Cooper Draper Price needs to handle a creepy tobacco mogul, Lee Garner Jr., who forces himself into and or onto, meow, the Christmas party of the agency. Close the door, have a seat. Sterling Cooper and friends decide to destroy the previous agency bought up by Putnam, Powell, and Lowe, and form their new agency as the phoenix rises from the grave of Don Draper's terrible marriage. The Chrysanthemum and the Sword, during which Pete Campbell is greedy, Don Draper engages in a clever, paper-thin intrigue, and Bert Cooper's eccentricities do not outweigh Roger's super-duper racism. Season 6, Episode 8, The Crash, in which Dr. Hex, not his real name, gives everybody basically PCP, and they
God.
just lose their
I
minds.
forgot about that episode.
And the final, Season 7, Episode 4, Time and Life, in which Pete Campbell famously enunciates, and I often misquote, so I wrote it down, "The king ordered it."
I fully believe that last one is your favorite scene, but favorite episode.
It's gotta be C.
Was see the PCP one?
That's D.
3, the Chrysanthemum and the Sword about the Japanese is 3.
Yeah.
4 is Everybody Trips Balls.
That's the obvious answer because that was a fantastic episode. So I'm gonna go with that.
4, Everybody Trips.
Yeah.
I love that episode, but no. Kevin, care to take it away?
It's C, right? The third one.
2, 3, Chrysanthemum and the Sword with the Japanese.
Yeah.
Also, no.
No, it's the Lee Garner one, isn't it?
No.
What? All right. Well, what is it?
Close the door, have a seat.
When
When
they start the
Sterling
new-
Cooper make their own agency. Something fun and exciting finally happens in a show that was feeling very sad and drab. Well, that's
Much
the end
like
of
the 1996
Six Academy Awards. Ladies and
hosted
gentlemen,
by Billy Crystal.
hosted by Billy Crystal. That is correct.
Yeah.
At the 1996 Academy Awards, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the quiz. Thank you for listening.
I think I won. I have 2 points and you had 0, right?
Good on you.
Great.
It'll be real great.
All right, we're back with questions from our patrons. The only way you can get a question on our podcast is if you back us at guaranteedvideo.com. Literally any backing for our video projects will let you ask questions. We haven't even charged, I think, in like 3 months.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time, maybe
yeah.
longer. We only charge when we make a movie. But
So just hop on there. We're not going to break the bank.
yeah, we're never even going to ask for money. So anyway,
Now this segment is special in that we forgot to ask yesterday. So we
these are coming in hot.
Yeah, we're coming in hot. We made
So the
this
hot
post
stays
we
hot.
made this post 2 hours ago, and it looks like we got a bunch of questions that we have not read yet. So
All right, Neil. Riley Johnson asks, what was your first starter Pokemon?
my first starter
Too
Pokemon.
slow, Ryan. What was your first starter Pokemon?
Charmander.
Charmander?
I think I was Charmander too. Yeah.
Oh, I was Bulbasaur. You guys are bullies.
Mother.
Fire Pokemon. Green, yeah. I was definitely a Bulbasaur guy.
Were you Pokemon red or blue or yellow?
I had red, my brother had blue, so we could trade with each other.
Yeah.
It was great,
I
actually.
think I might have been red.
The first time I played it, I was probably borrowing it off of you. I forgot. I borrowed it off of somebody for like a night. No, Mikey Moss let me borrow
Oh,
it. I
cool.
played for a little bit. I loved it, and I went and got Pokemon Yellow. So I got Pikachu with Yellow, but before that, I was just, Bulbasaur is the best.
I played it on an emulator.
I loved my old emulator. I loved committing that crime.
We got Pika Bread here asking, Pokemon theme again. Neil, you're coming up on the 10th anniversary of View Monster in July. What are your thoughts on the album a decade later?
View Monster was fun to make, and I didn't make a full-length album for pretty much 8 years afterwards. So I kind of resent it just because it was my most recent album was just getting really old, getting really long in the tooth, and I just felt embarrassed for a long time. Not because of the content of the album, but just because it had been so long since I was starting to worry, like, is this my last real album? So View Monster makes me feel a little sad for that reason.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I like View Monster a lot. I think it's fun.
Thank you.
Michael Kickenrad Corliss asks, a deranged billionaire has forced you each to complete a quest. If you refuse, you will die. Your request, you each have to put on a Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark style Broadway adaptation. Which pre-existing property do you reinterpret? Which popular recording artist do you get to do the music? Any fun set pieces? This is a big question.
Yeah. We got to use our noodles here.
All right.
All right, I'll go first. I'll say that I was given that amount of money and I had to make like some big showstopper. My first instinct is always Darkman.
Darkman would be great.
Darkman would make an awesome play. I would probably, I don't, maybe just because they're on my mind, but I think it'd be kind of funny to get like Eurythmics or something. Like,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, so that's what I would do. And as far as the set pieces, I am picturing whoever's playing Darkman hooked up to some rope mechanism that's on the ceiling to represent the helicopter chase scene, and a bunch of like cardboard cutouts of cars like running around, like people holding them up and running around left to right on the stage as the Darkman actors singing and swinging around through everything. But that's my answer.
Nice.
Now that I've bought you guys time for a real answer.
Neil, got anything?
Are you still thinking?
I got some.
You go ahead. Then.
Well, what they said, if you refuse, you will die. He's a deranged billionaire.
I'll just die.
So money's not a question. Like you're almost being asked to spend money that like you don't deserve. So I would hire Lin-Manuel Miranda to not compose the music. He would star in it, and he'd hate it. I'm writing the music and I thought, what would be the most mechanically and technically difficult thing to do? I thought animatronics will be very expensive and time consuming. So I want lots and lots. What intellectual property has the most difficult, cumbersome, not going to work right animatronics? And I went Gremlins. I want a stage production of Gremlins where Lin-Manuel Miranda plays like a 17-year-old boy who gets a mogwai. And it's going to be a nightmare. Nothing's going to work right. With a lot of like scenes in the rain to make the audience uncomfortable and make things not work. It's going to be just the worst shit show.
Good answer. I'm going to riff on that a little bit. I'm coming up with something even harder to pull off. Mine is going to be a Broadway multiple films. It's going to be the films of Roland Emmerich. All of them. Except, I mean, all of the, he's made a lot of movies, but all the disaster films of Roland Emmerich. So we're going from Godzilla and Independence Day, 2012, Day After Tomorrow.
This is good. I like this.
Get all of them in there.
I think you got this.
Yeah. It'll be the most elaborate musical ever made. And it will be a musical. And the music will be the music of Metallica.
That was a long answer, but it was a long question.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mayana asks, gotta think fast for all three of you. What's the scariest animal you can think of? Or, if that's boring, a horror movie villain that you could take on in a fight. Okay, so I've had this argument with my friends before years ago in college. I think I could take on a dog. There's a good amount of dogs I think I could take.
That's the scariest animal, though.
I'm not gonna take on a bear or like a shark. Like what? I mean, people say sharks are easier to thwart off than you'd think, but I'm not testing that.
Fuck that. No.
Fuck that.
Bat. Because they're scary, but not hard to defeat.
Okay, that's a smart answer.
I have had legitimate nightmares about coyotes because I could take on one coyote, but coyotes are pack animals. Taking on one coyote is one thing, but if you are surrounded by 4 or 5, that's a very scary proposition. And they have a vested interest to not get fucking murdered. So, yeah, they will defend
Lone
themselves.
coyotes, as we've seen, are very prone to blowing themselves up with dynamite.
Alex Johnson asks us, which option seems the least terrible for Guaranteed Video's member lineup? A, Kevin is replaced by comedian Kevin James. B. Ryan is replaced by director-writer Ryan Murphy. C. Neil is replaced by some random schmo who happens to also be named Neil Cicerega.
But who has no experience in film.
Yeah. Was the least terrible option. I think, well, what's the worst option?
Ditch me. That guy just pumps it out. I mean, yeah,
Ryan Murphy could open some doors
he fucking
for
delivers.
us. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna go the other way and like say like kind of like work our way up. But you're right. I think no offense, but yeah, like I like to have a lot of money
Between Scream Queens and Nip Tuck and Glee and American Horror Story with its goods and its bads.
An American Crime Story.
All right. And our last question is from Joe Shuttle. Joe Shuttle asks, if a movie was made about our lives, who would we cast as ourselves? Anyone alive, dead, or fictitious? I think we should do it for one another.
Ooh.
I would cast for Neil. I think the easy one's Crispin Glover. I think Crispin Glover, circa 1984, is probably a good Neil Cicerega.
He'd bring a certain intensity to my life that's not really there.
Yeah, but he'd figure out you, and then he'd blow it up in a way.
I was actually, I was gonna, if we were gonna do this for ourselves, I was gonna say Crispin Glover.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. For Ryan, man.
Ryan's a hard one.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't know who I'd get for myself.
I always thought. I mean, I guess it'd be Dan Castellaneta then, because I was going to say that Jafar was always kind of my like cartoonish like anachronism of Ryan. But I don't know. Dan Castellaneta looks nothing like you.
No, he doesn't. I won't lie. My first thought about this was the delightful, reaction image. The episode of 30 Rock where Steve Buscemi is a detective undercover.
Yeah.
Of just hello fellow kids, and they go what, and just cut back of.
All right,
Steve
Ryan. I'm gonna flatter you. I'm gonna give you Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin.
I think he'd really,
damn.
That's a really good
step
one.
into
That's
the role.
That's a really good one. The trick is like, we're all trying to pick competent actors, right? Like,
Yeah.
Kevin, I was actually going to pick Zachary Quinto. I think he's
He's a good actor. I can't see it, but he could probably pull it off because he's good. It'd be, I don't know if I can pick one for me. Like I'm like racing.
Rodney
through.
Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield for me, but
Rodney Dangerfield trying to play
I don't wanna be Rodney Dangerfield.
No, trying to play like someone who isn't him. Can you imagine that?
What? Okay.
he can't. He'd just be Rodney Dangerfield. Like, it's the year 2004, and like, I just got my license.
Can you imagine him, like, playing
I'm gonna try
Nixon
my
or
friends.
something?
Like, but all the other actors are 14 years old. He just
I would love it if Liam Neeson played me.
that would be cool.
That'd be funny. But
Trying to make this movie.
yeah, I'm just thinking through like all my favorite actors. I mean, I think it's too easy to say any of the Ghostbusters playing me, including Ernie Hudson.
If I had to
I would
cast,
love it if Ernie Hudson played me in a movie. Actually, I really like Ernie.
guys,
It's okay. Like I've had friends say Matt Smith, Charlie Sheen, and Ryan. What the fuck? My buddy Steve Bailey always joked that Ryan should be played by. It's driving me nuts. This is gonna be an awful segment to edit. I'm sorry.
Brad Dourif.
No,
that'd be fun.
It was better than
That'd
that.
be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to see how he's gonna. That guy's maybe you don't want that motherfucker getting in your head. I mean, he's serious.
What if maybe the question should just be if New Kids on the Rock the movie got made, like the Pee Wee Herman movie got made?
Oh, okay. So who's the James Brolin and Morgan Fairchild?
Yeah,
So Neil, if it's made today, it's Matt Smith, right?
John Hamm.
We all want John Hamm.
3 John Hams.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
green
John
screen.
Hamm in a.
Let's just do the cast of Mad Men. It'll just be John Hamm.
Do you have to be Pete?
I might be Pete.
The king ordered it.
Well, I think that ends the Q&A segment. Thanks everyone for writing in. I know those were kind of hot, last second requests.
You guys are great.
Yeah.
You did well.
You did well. Well, I think that's all we have for this episode of Guaranteed Audio. We really wanted to talk about a little show called Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction.
Which is available now. Is it on Amazon?
On Amazon Prime. We didn't get to work it in. We'll do it as soon as possible.
We have
love
a
that
lot
show.
of things to say about
But yeah,
Beyond Belief.
if you have Amazon Prime streaming, just go on there. Watch an episode of Beyond Belief
Or the
Fact or
last
Fiction.
5 minutes.
Or the last 5 minutes starting at like the 40-minute mark because they kind of recap it. But watch one of the Jonathan Frakes, season 2 and onward.
Yeah.
Best known for gargoyles, if you will.
I love how we spent a good amount of time in this episode tearing apart Channel Awesome. And then we just got to tinkered off into like, oh, let's talk about who would play us in a movie. Oh, and by the way, watch Beyond Belief.
Yeah.
This 20-year-old terrible show. God, it's great though. If you like Rescue 911 or
Cautionary Tales of Swords.
yeah, or what's the real show? Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh yeah, Unsolved Mysteries, by the way, is also on Amazon Prime.
yeah, good show.
Slightly better made.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, we gotta save this for the next episode.
All right, everyone.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Have a good night.
Join us for more stories next time on Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.